Hello and welcome to Made a Hames Out of It. I'm Kate Hames and I hope you're having a fabulous day. Here at Made a Hames Out of It, we find disasters, curses and sometimes total fuck-ups, which are generally hilarious and usually only for our own pleasure, but it would be rude not to share. Let me explain the whole Made a Hames Out of It. A hames is a piece of equipment used on horses. It is made from either metal or wood and is attached to the horse's collar. It then distributes weight evenly around the horse's neck and shoulders. Interesting, I hear you say, but what the fudge has that got to do with anything? Well, these hameses are apparently quite tricky to attach, or at least fit correctly. And so, many years ago, a saying was born, "You made a right hames out of that." And honestly, that fits so perfectly for my ever so interesting family of Hameses, whose lives have often been tainted with ill fate, ironic missed opportunities, eerie cases of bad luck, and an ominous air of being cursed. And, with that in mind, I want to bring you some disasters from around the world, some curses, some misfortune. Are they all just random incidents, coincidences, or is something more sinister at play? Welcome to my Halloween special 2020. This is a bit of a bonus episode because I haven't uploaded in a while because of life stuff. Whilst I was writing this, I was actually awaiting test results for COVID-19, which have since come back negative, so woohoo! And aside from worrying about that, there's just been some regular normal life shit going on, mainly just being really busy. But I'm getting more focused, I know what I want to be doing, and it is this. I've been getting some nice feedback from you guys, so thank you. And don't forget, you can leave me a voice message via Anchor. I will link that in with today's episode. I would love to get some voice messages, but now I worry what I have opened myself up to. But hey ho, that's life. Right, today's a little bit different. Not so much curses and mishaps, more hauntings and scary stuff. I thought we could take a look at some spooky streets, terrifying trails, freaky footpaths, and some RIP roads. I don't know, I couldn't think of anything for roads. Anywho, let's go. Okay. I came across a few spooky road stories, but they were all quite samey and dull. A white figure appeared and vanished. I saw what looked like eyes in the tree, which was probably an owl. Some Roman centurions started marching across the road in front of me, and I could only see down to their knees because the rest of their legs were covered by the road, because the road they were marching on was obviously buried about a foot below this one. Okay, that last one would probably freak me out a little bit, but you get the gist. However, as I scrolled down the list, I happened upon this creepy little tale about Route 44 in Massachusetts. It genuinely gave me the shivers whilst reading about it. It was super unsettling. However, now that I am recording this in broad daylight in my bedroom, it doesn't seem quite as scary. Apparently, this route is haunted by a man with red hair, a red beard, nearly 6 foot tall, kind of sounds like a Viking. He wears a checked shirt and blue jeans. One account from a man says whilst driving home alone down Route 44, so whilst driving alone down Route 44, this guy sees some bloke, the Viking man, at the side of the road. And as he passes him and glances to the passenger side of the car, he suddenly sees the guy's face pressed right up against the frigging window, just grinning at him. So yeah, that road is a strong nope from me. Another dude says he once picked this guy up thinking he was a hitchhiker. When he asked where he was going, all the red-haired guy did was grin at him. Obviously the driver realised Mr. Viking was a complete nutjob and asked him to leave the car. Without saying a word, but still grinning, the guy just vanished. He's also been known to start laughing maniacally at drivers, and once taunted a husband and wife by switching from one side of the road to the other in a split second, whilst keeping his ridiculously inane grin on his face and continuing his evil laughter. There are apparently thousands of accounts from people all over the internet now, although the stories began back in the 1960s. There are some people that say he was a farmer and was knocked down whilst changing a tyre, but there are no official records of this death. I've added a link to the transcript of this episode if you want to scare the crap out of yourself with some more stories. Clinton Road in New Jersey. Now, this place has so many tales that span across hundreds of years and includes everything from the spirit of a boy who drowned to the apparent chantings of a satanic cult. I actually got bored as I was reading through the list of stories. They just go on and on and on and on and on and on and on. But here's a few things I found that piqued my interest. The road is around 10 miles long and is surrounded by dense forest and woodland. There was a castle built there back in the early 1900s by a guy called Richard J. Cross. It cost $1.5 million to build. There is no record of how long it took to build, but Cross bought the land in about 1905 and the castle was finished in 1915, so maybe 10 years. Cross died in 1917 and his family sold the estate to Newark in 1919 for just $155,000. Nothing remains of the castle now. It was completely demolished in 1988. But stories of goblins, ghouls, witches and warlocks have been passed around since West Milford was founded back in 1834. People were warned to not go out into the woods after dark. A pretty normal warning for anywhere, really. But this place seems to have attracted lots of folklore and a general air of creepiness. There are literally hundreds of little snippets of stories about how people have witnessed animal sacrifices, Satan worshipping, demonic apparitions, symbolic scribblings on the walls of the castle. People report to start feeling sick and dizzy once they cross the castle boundary, which is no longer there, with one girl even feeling like she was being strangled and later found bruises across her neck. And ghosts aren't the only visitors to this creepy corner of the globe. Of course, we have aliens there too. Sightings of UFOs are just as common as spirits and human sacrifice. There's a section of the road called Dead Man's Curve. Of course there is. And someone's reported seeing a UFO hovering around 250 feet in the air. Another says they saw a giant UFO with flashing lights which flew off without a sound. One driver recalls being chased down the road by an unidentified flying object. And it doesn't stop there. This place is like a goddamn zoo. They have werewolves, floating dogs, hellhounds, and apparently a monkey hiding in the woods. There is clearly something weird about this place. It could just be that it's because it's way out in the middle of nowhere, so it has that creepy vibe to it. But the stories just go on and on and on. There's a link to the site where I got most of these stories and info about the weird occurrences on Clinton Road in the transcript. It's from a website called weirdnj.com, and they also have a Facebook page which has some totally awesome stuff about all the weird shit that you want to know about New Jersey. I know I've only talked about 2 roads here and both were in the States, but I didn't expect to get that much from them. But I can't go without mentioning High Street in Edinburgh. There are loads of apparently haunted roads in Britain, and many of them actually in Scotland. But as I was researching this episode, I came across the High Street in Edinburgh, which houses the Museum of Childhood, which in itself sounds terrifying. On this street, people are said to hear children screaming and crying, as it is reported that back in the days of the plague in the 1600s, children who were infected would be locked in the nursery and left to die. And on that cheery note, we have reached the end of today's episode. I would really love to know what you thought of my Halloween bonus special. If you have any comments, questions or suggestions, please do get in touch. Remember, you can leave me a voice message via Anchor or find me on Facebook or Instagram at Maida Hames Out of It, or Twitter at Maida Hames, or check out the website for everything else, www.maidahames.com. Enjoy the rest of your Halloween, and what the hell is that?